Yo, what's happening everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go Bat League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing buffed Gligar in the Open Great League. This Pokemon got a buff to Aerialius, and this Pokemon is now the #1 flyer in the Great League. We're pairing this team with a Mudboy double flyer kind of line. Originally this was a PV Poke team of Swampert double flyer, but of course it's been adapted over time with Quagsire, and today we're going to be running it with the two best flyers in the Great League, which are now Gligar and Pelipper. Now Gligar is actually rank 4 I believe if you're using the Shadow. Today we're using non-Shadow, and we get a very tricky lead in the first match. Guys, by the way, I woke up at like 6 AM to do these battles, so if I sounded a little bit tired, that's why. If you appreciate me getting up super early to get these battles recorded and out for you guys, hit that like button, it's very much appreciated. And if you want to see a lot more showcases for all of the new Pokemon this season, go on ahead and subscribe as well. Also for today's question, what is your favourite Pokemon that got buffed this season? Let me know in the comment section down below. So we have a slightly tricky matchup here with Azumarill, and what I do is go for Stone Edge first time round and then go for Mud Bomb, because I shielded so I expected them to shield. The opponent made a really good no shield here, and we're in a bit of a tricky position here in this first game. Azumarill can kind of beat definitely like half of my team, so if I can actually just shield up for this Pokemon, I'll more than happily do so. I think this is going to be another Ice Beam. It is a Hydro Pump. The opponent YOLOs it, and we're going to come in for a big farm down with Pelipper. Pelipper is going to be insane this season, and I highly recommend it. Lantern now gets to Thunderbolts and 8 Sparks and 6 Sparks for Surf, so it's a lot better. We're going to go for the Weather Ball bait because this is Trevenant, and Trevenant's always shield up here, so this is a very, very safe bait, or so I thought. The opponent is an absolute savage. The opponent's playing super well here, so you got to take hats off to them here, and I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting this for my first level 1 battle. I'm having to sweat it out a little bit here, but we are getting to another move, and it's very, very clear to me that they're super weak to Gligar in the back, because of course, Trevenant is not really a swap for this Pokemon. Of course, Seed Bomb's hit for neutral and it does a lot of damage, and in comes Sableye. We're going to bring in Gligar, and we're going to see how this plays out in the zeros. Now, I wanted to throw the Aerialius here just to see how much damage it done. The most efficient move to go for is Dig, so I think in any case, maybe 1 Dig and 1 Aerialius. Actually, at this point, going for probably 2 Aerialiuses is better, or maybe you could have got away with 1 Dig and a Farm Down. But as you can see, we can eat the returns super easily. And believe it or not, guys, this is probably the first time I've seen this Dig animation. It looks very, very cool. It's actually digging for the ground, kind of like the main series game, so a very, very cool animation. If you guys are wondering about this move, basically it's a Scorching Sands clone, which is a new move that came out. The only difference is Scorching Sands has the 30% chance of the attack drop. So Scorching Sands is a Scald clone. So this move is like a Scald clone without the potential debuff. So it's 50 energy, you can store 2 of them, and you get to these moves in 7 and in 6 every time after. Definitely a very good move, and it's super handy against ground types, or sorry, steel types, steel ground types. I'm thinking of like Stunfisk, Steelix of course, and things like a Lantern. The opponent comes in with Jinx. Was not expecting to see Jinx here. Well, I guess I kind of was. This is more what I'm expecting to see. We absolutely one-shot it with Dig, and in comes Arbok. Can we get off a move just in time? The opponent farms us down with Acid of all things, and back in comes Quagsire. We can look to basically just go for a Mud Bomb straight away. I'm already up a shield, and up a shield, Quagsire can basically flip this match, or of course Pelipper can deal with anything. I think I might let this one go. Yeah, we let this move go. It is just the Acid Spray, and the opponent is staying in here for a minute. The opponent is catching. I'm an insta-throwing Andy. I'm not giving these players enough respect, and they catch back on Meganium. But that puts a nice little chip into it to the point where we can look to go for a Weather Ball. We win CMP, and I don't think this will quite take them out, but that should put us in a very good position. The opponent will fire off Frenzy Plant #1 here. We're probably going to have to invest both shields, but the opponent YOLOs the Solar Beam. It does not land, and that's going to be a good game well played. Back in comes Arbok, and we can look to just outpace it. This thing does no Dragon Tail, so if you're ever going to use Arbok, use Dragon Tail. So yeah, talking a little bit about this team, this is a team I wanted to try out, because of course, like, Noctowl's been super nerfed, Altaria's been nerfed as well, and Pidgeot. I don't think it really stands up by itself without, you know, some proper coverage with it. So, could this be the new sort of Mudboy double flyer line? This is a team I've, of course, come up with myself. And I think it could be quite interesting. This team is a little bit soft to grass because all 3 of your Pokemon take either super effective in Quagsire's case, or neutral with the 2 back Pokemon being a ground flying type and of course a water flying type. Now this is a really interesting match. I believe it's 17 Dragon Breaths it takes them to get to these now, so you can just heavily outpace. What we're going to do is look to catching Gligar. The one really good thing about Gligar is it's a thick Pokemon. It can definitely take some hits. Look at that Sky Attack doing nothing. And at this point, they're only just about getting us into the yellow. We're farming the whole way up into the Dig and firing off the Aerialius. I'm not going to let them get off another Sky Attack, but we still have a ton of health. And this is actually a Pearly IV'd one. The opponent goes for the Peekaboo play. Bro, this is level 1. Stop it. Stop it. Behave yourself. Behave yourself. They thought I was going to YOLO the Dig. We're getting farmed down by Ludicolo. But this is just game over at this point. We've got 2 shields, I've got 1. I can just go straight Weather Ball. I think I actually just commit to the farm down at this point, because I don't really need to throw a move. These wing attacks are just chunking, and yeah, at this point, it's good games well played. The opponent's trying to peekaboo, they're trying to do funny plays, but it's not going to quite work out. Not what I was expecting to see at level 1, but you know, it's pretty fun, and I was pretty happy to see these pretty good plays by the opponents. It actually made me sharpen up a little bit, and actually towards the end, we had some pretty sweaty battles actually, which is again super surprising, but the one thing is, if you're going to play your battles as soon as they drop, like I said, I am playing these battles at 6 AM. The new season started like an hour ago, like an hour before these battles. So who's going to be playing the battles at the very start? Of course, the sweaty players, right? Let's get our ranks up, let's try the new Pokemon. So of course I'm going to be playing the better players, but it's definitely very, very cool that we're getting some good matches here. And yep, Quagsire versus Walrein. We're going to look to go for Stone Edge in this thing. Walrein's a bit of a core breaker for my whole team, kind of, because it wrecks my Gligar. Gligar is super, super weak to ice. That's the main huge disadvantage with it. We're going to overfarm to 1 before they reach the next move, and I'm going to YOLO the Stone Edge. Will the opponent make the call? They do make the call, and again, that indicates that they're a pretty decent player, because usually like lower level players shield everything. We're going to go for a safe swap. Grass Knot would hurt, and back in comes Noctowl. Per Noctowl, it only gets these moves. It gets to Sky Attack in 7 and then 6 straight after. So like the first Sky Attack's a little bit more expensive. So inadvertently, they've actually nerfed, buffed Medicham, because you'll probably be able to take this match with Medicham now. And also Lantern, like I said, gets to the Surf in 6 and Thunderbolt in 7. So like it's definitely nerfed. It does more damage with Spark, of course, so you can probably farm things down. The opponent sees the writing in the wall, and that's the top left, and good game. I like this team a lot. I feel like you have to go Gligar for the safe swap. I feel like safe swapping Pelipper is just kind of rough. With Gligar, you can look to draw out any anti-fighter. You know, if it does so happen to be an ice type, it is kind of rough, but then you have the Stone Edge with Quagsire. So that kind of works out. Interesting match here, Sableye versus Quag. I believe this is fairly even. Swampert generally wins this matchup because you just outpace it. I'm farming up to 1 before the return here and firing off the Mud Bomb. We'll see what the opponent decides to do. Once again, the opponents are letting these moves go. Fair play to these opponents, man. These battles were super fun this morning. Actually went super, super positive. I went 9-1 here this morning with this team. I think it'll be more interesting to see this team whenever you're playing against like hard meta lines. But we'll have a look to see what this team is. We're going for a safe swap into Gligar. The opponent's going for the catch here, and we're not going to let that happen. We're going to go straight for the dig, which is the more efficient move here. And let's see how much damage this does from the non-shadow. It does a nice little chunk into this thing, and we're going to look to fire off another move in good timing. So an Ice Beam would basically one-shot this Pokemon. That's the one problem with it. But as you can see, we're getting them super low. What I want to do is try and retain some health on this Pokemon. Our Quagsire is basically dead at this point, right? The Sableye stored a foul play before they left, so that's kind of rough. We're in a bit of a tough position here. I need to get rid of this thing and potentially, you know, get them to dump energy in Sableye. So that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the Sniper right here. So I swap out, in comes Skarmory, which of course has been nerfed, and that could just basically be game over. I was expecting the Snipe. The opponent did not go for it, and yeah, this is basically curtains for me at this point. The wing attacks are resisted on Skarmory. The opponent is using nerfed Skarmory, which I'm guessing gets to these moves in 6 now. Let's have a look. Yeah, Skarmory gets to the Sky Attack in 6-6-5. That Pokemon badly needs Aurelius, or honestly, it needs Aurelius, Wing Attack, and a coverage move. Like a Fire Punch, bro. Anyway, folks, this is our only loss in this video. They're going to come back in here with Foul Play, and they could throw a return if they wanted to, which they probably should. Is this Purified? It is Purified. I should have tried to stay in and get them to throw energy, but I didn't think that was going to happen. I think either way we were kind of screwed, because all of Gligar's moves are resisted on Skarmory, and we hit the top left button, rightfully so. So, if you see Sableye and Skarmory, maybe it's a little bit tough. But the thing that's so good about this team this season, right? Think about what's going to be meta. Carbink. Quagsire can hit Carbink. We can hit them with neutral Weller Balls. We can hit them with Dig. So like we're in a really good position against Carbink. Hopefully we're going to see less Lanterns in the meta, which I think we will still see it, but it's going to be a little bit less deadly. And we're definitely going to see a lot more water types, which is very good for Pelipper. Quagsire can deal with them. Maybe a little bit tricky for Gligar. So in that respect, I would say even though nerfed, Altaria might be a better shout than Pelipper in this position, or you could look to swap out Gligar for Altaria. In comes a very interesting matchup here. Shadow Galvantula, which basically, a bit of a core breaker for the team here. We're going to look to farm up to the Stone Edge and probably look to throw off the bait here. I can definitely live a lunge, but as you can see, it is not comfortable. By the way, guys, Shadow Whipper is back in raids, so if you want to go grab yourself one, I highly recommend doing so. Even if it's bad IVs, get yourself the Shadow. The Shadow is far superior. And look, in this position, they may take out our Quagsire here, but we have coverage with this Pokemon right here, and we can look to Aurelius it and take it out. One can only assume that this is the only electric type on the team, so, I mean, if there's Lantern in the back, I mean, fair play, I suppose, but We're in a good position. They go for the debuff instead of the damage, which is not always the best move. I think they thought it was a guaranteed shield. In comes Frostlass. Now we're debuffed here, which is unfortunate. Frostlass again, a bit of a core breaker, completely wrecks this Pokemon, completely wrecks Quagsire. But we do get off a decent amount of damage and the farm is the whole way down. Now what I'm going to like to do is come in with Pelipper and just start farming up here. These wing attacks are chunking on this Frostlass here. I think Frostlass could be a very interesting pick for the season. It may be a Pokemon I like to use. I build up to the back-to-back and look to go for the catch. The opponent does not throw straight away, but they do end up throwing. They definitely misclicked that one, and I'm very, very lucky there in that sense. The opponent makes a really nice catch on Medicham, but this should be game over at this point. It's going to take them 6 to get to an Ice Punch here, and we still have a shield. So we're looking to be in a good position. They may be on Power Up Punch here. We're going to YOLO the Hurricane. Here I am. Rock me like a hurricane. And at this point, the Frostlass cannot outpace us. They do throw a move. They get to the third Avalanche in 5, but that's no problem. They're pretty much dry at this point and good games. So hopping into the next battle, folks, we've got a very good lead with Steelix. Quagsire absolutely wrecks this thing, even with Breaking Swipe. This is very good. Now, what I would be tempted to do in this match is deliberately throw in bad timing, because as you can see here, we're allowing them to get off the Breaking Swipe, so it may be a consideration to throw in 5, even though it's bad timing, just to get that damage off immediately. They come in with Buffed Gradient. Very interesting one. What I'm looking to do is chip this and dip this, right? This thing is hella spammy, folks. Look how spammy this thing is. They get to Body Slams in 4 every time. Literally straight 4 for Body Slam, which is insane. Body Slam number 1 coming through. Body Slam number 2 coming through already. They're going to get us chipped into almost the yellow health. We're almost even on health here at this point. We are ahead in energy, so I'm going to look to CMP them on the next move. And we're basically just going to CMP them on every single move until the end of time here. The opponent shields up the dig. I was expecting them to let it go at this point, and I didn't think an Aurelius would quite take them out, so I wanted to play it safe and go for dig. We're going to look to go for 4 again, CMP them on this. Once again, I wasn't really expecting the opponent to shield, but I guess it makes sense, right? They don't want their Steelix to get absolutely wrecked by Gligar. I'm not letting this go. I'm going to keep alignment, because even though Pelipper's fine against Steelix, this is a Gligar showcase, and we have to keep this thing alive, right? That's basically how this works. The opponent CMP'd us for the 3rd time. Maybe they thought it was a coin flip, and they've lost the coin flip 3 times in a row, but good games to Gradient, and back in comes Steelix, ladies and gents. Can we get to this move just in time? Once again, we CMP the opponent on the dig, and this is going to absolutely wreck this thing. Boom. Not quite good night, but it's definitely tucked into bed and ready to sleep, because that is just a lot of damage. The Shadow would have one-shot it for sure. In comes this thing, we throw after 1. Perfect timing. Of course, a little bit lucky, to be honest, that I was just 1 off the move, and they threw the Dragon Tail, and in comes Magneton. ABA Steel, that's a very interesting team, and good games to the opponent. So I mean, so far so good with this team. It makes sense, I think. In comes Swampert, and we're going to look to... This is going to be tough. I think Swampert generally wins this match. Not when they fire Muddy Water, though. The opponent is Muddy Watering. Man, if we ever get a Muddy Water buff, that's going to be a nightmare, because that move is pretty bad, but it has a lot of sort of potential with the fact that it's such a cheap move, and it debuffs the opponent. I think it's a 50% chance of debuffing. Now, the opponent's going to fire off another Muddy Water, or so I thought. To throw off a Hydro Cannon. They should be probably running Hydro Cannon Earthquake, even though Earthquake is nerfed. It may be a consideration to run Sludge Wave on Swampert now, because you might want that extra coverage. Hydro Cannon typically can do quite well. Once again, I CMP the opponent, which is pretty foolish. This is an IV dependent CMP. I know this is only a Muddy Water, so I can live it, but it is IV dependent, and generally at these levels, if they're running Muddy Water, they probably don't have good IVs, right? So I probably should have seen that one coming. However, what the opponent's not going to see coming is the one-shot with the Stone Edge. If you're against this Crossel, Rock does not resist Rock, and of course Bug is super effective, so boom, good night to Crossel. And in comes Grovel. I think Grovel got a buff this season as well. I'm not sure if they're on like Tackle or something here, or Quick Attack. I think they're on Quick Attack, which is pretty interesting. I shield up the Leaf Blade. I might as well respect the damage at this point. A neutral Leaf Blade from this thing will hit like a truck, and of course Gligar does not appreciate it that much. Now, I was almost tempted to I should have let this move go. I wasn't sure what my health was in Quagsire. I almost wanted to see how much damage this would do. At this point, we're going to go for the dig, though. We can outpace to the move. Of course, Aerial Ass, which is no longer Aerial Ass, would have got the job done there, but we're going to fire that off just to see the animation, and that's a good game. Let me know, chat. Of course, let me know your favorite buffed Pokemon. I'm definitely going to run Diggersby today, because that's probably one of my favorite Pokemon in Go Battle League. But let me know what your favorite buff Pokemon and your favorite buff moves are. I think it's pretty cool to see like Dig in the meta, being just an interesting looking move. Next up here we have a Medicham, which of course got nerfed as well with the Psychic debuff. They're 1494 CP, and in comes Charizard. Now, I was super tempted to call baits on this, but I think that if I start calling baits, I think I do IPS on this, right? because I got ahead by a wing attack, and I know I can definitely live Dragon Claw, and like all I need to do is wing attack and go straight 5s on the Aurelius. So I just thought it would be safer just to shield this up. That was my thinking at the time, because it's 5-4-5 and I got ahead by 1 wing attack, right? So like I'm definitely safe just to keep throwing these and, you know, shield up whatever they throw. I think they do eventually land a Dragon Claw, because this will come down to CMP here, right? I got ahead by 1, 5-4-5, and I'm straight 5. So like this worked out pretty perfectly, I think. I could have just let the move go or whatever, but I would have had to have shielded a Dragon Claw to take this match anyway. So that works out perfectly fine. We do take switch and back in comes Medi. Can we get off the Aurelius just in time? Gligar do be thick. That's what I really like about this Pokemon, it is quite thick, and I've got pretty terrible IVs as well. If you guys have got good IVs for this thing, it's going to be very, very good. In comes Lickitung. Now this is a little bit awkward. What I'm going to do is look to eat the Power Whip on this thing. We actually do go for CMP, which is amazing. And the opponent is going to throw Power Whip, which is the correct move in this situation. At this point, all I need to do is come in with Quagsire. I throw off a move before they get to the big move, right? Boom. That does a lot of damage. We're going to fire off Mud Bomb here. They don't quite get to the Body Slam. They get to the Body Slam in 6 Mud Shots equivalent. Boom, that goes through. They will get off a last second move. But like I said, this is only Body Slam. And at this point, you guys are about to see something come into play here. The opponent left with a ton of energy in Medicham. The opponent gets the whole way up to the Psychic. And like I said, this is a 1494 CP Medicham. Psychic coming through. It does not one-shot us. So you guys might think, oh, Medicham did not get nerfed. Oh, Lantern didn't get nerfed. Noctowl didn't get nerfed. This is all rubbish, right? These incremental differences can make a huge difference at times. Imagine that was my last Pokemon. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could have made a huge difference. And now in this set, we're looking to go for the 5-0. We're playing against a Rowlet here, and in comes Golbat. Pretty awkward lead for me, so we'll see what we decide to do. I'm not going to insta-throw because, of course, insta-throwing Andes get CMP'd. The opponent does go for a Medicham swap, and in this situation, I think you come into Pelipper. Why? Well, look at this Ice Punch come through. The good thing is I swapped quickly enough where, like, my wing attacks and Aurelius can add up, and I can outpace with Aurelius. But yeah, this was a little bit tricky. Okay, the opponent lets it go. They're only 1431 CP, so I'm going to look to CMP them on this move, just to make sure I don't have to shield up another Ice Punch. If the opponent shields, I'm going to shield back, and I'm definitely going to take switch advantage. We have an absolute ton of health in this thing, and Gligar may still have a ton of play here. Of course, we just want to take switch advantage, make sure we get our Quagsire lined up appropriately. Let's see what the opponent decides to come into here. They probably come into Golbat. Yeah, they look to come in and fire off the move. Shadow Ball will not take us out here, and at this range, we can look to hopefully get off, an Aurelius. Can we actually get off 2 moves? This will be very, very close if we can get off 2. A second Aurelius would get this super, super low. Like I said, I've got really bad AV, so I'm probably getting a bulk point loss on this, and we do get off the next move. Again, I think the Shadow is going to be insane with this Pokemon, and hopefully it comes back into Grunts. I go for the Snipe, the opponent swaps out with the energy. The opponents are playing super well. Now, here's an interesting thing about this matchup, and this is why you need the Shadow. This Quagsire cannot one-shot Pelipper. Now, what I should have looked to do is probably go for a Weather Ball Bait here, but I decided you only live once. Let's YOLO the Hurricane. The opponent to shield it, which is pretty unfortunate. And at this point, they can look to take us out with a Mud Bomb. I knew that they were going to go for Mud Bomb here, that's why I threw that move a little bit earlier. Now, this is kind of tough here. I'm going to look to go for Mud Bomb. The opponent has a Shadow Ball stored on Golbat. So, unfortunately, guys, this is looking very, very rough for me. The opponent's going to fire off a move here. And yeah, I'm not sure if I can get to enough moves here. We're insta-swapping because we're expecting the Snipe. The opponent does go for the Snipe with the Shadow Ball. And at this point, all we need to do is just basically Mud Bomb it. I overfarmed by 1 here. I should have just overfarmed by 2. But I just wanted to make sure that I can get rid of this thing. And that's good games, very well played. Mud Bomb number 2 coming through. And that's enough to take the match. The opponent just dumped off their energy and they weren't going to get to another one in time. And that's very good games. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Gligar is definitely looking very interesting. I think the Shadow, and especially even the normal with good IVs, will be really good. I think I claimed that it was rank 4 in the Great League. After looking at it, the Shadow is rank 5, and the non-Shadow is rank 9. I'm going to have a look and see if there's any main differences. Apparently the Shadow still loses to Carbink, which is kind of unfortunate. So maybe the non-Shadow is a little bit better in that regard, because it'll give you a little bit more health to deal with that thing, and allow you to get off more moves, but that is Gligar in the Great League, rank 5. I think I claimed it was rank 4 earlier. Shadow rank 5 and non-Shadow is rank 9. The Shadow actually loses to Carbink in the one-shield scenario. So like it gives you that coverage against Carbink, but it's not perfect against it. But I do think this is a very cool Pokemon with that ground coverage. Typically Steel types are there to counter Flyers, but if you're going to be able to dig Galarian Stunfisks and dig Steelixes and dig Carbinks, I think it's a very cool Pokemon and you should see a lot of it this season. Let me know what you think of the team. I think the team works out pretty well. but I think it of course has some holes in it. It's fairly weak to grass overall, and kind of weak to water, like Swamperts and things like that, but of course every team has its weakness, and I did enjoy using it nonetheless. Thank you very much everybody, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time.